Strat-O-Matic Excel Carryover League. Brought to you by the Shrimp Troller. 1972 to 1975.
Game 579, Diamondbacks at Reds. Welcome back, baseball fans of 1972-75 Carryover League. We are back tonight in the last matchup in the second round of the postseason tournament, the up to 5 game tournament. Let's go quickly review what's taken place in this round. So in the American League, the teams who are in second place, 1, 2, 3, 4. They all advanced. Boston was +2. They're now +4. The Expos are +1. They're now +2. Kansas City was +4. They actually lost a half a game overall because Cleveland played them tough. They only won 2 of the 5 games, but they kept going. And the Rangers went from 1 over to 2 over. National League thus far, again, the second place Braves went from -2 to 0. We had a minor upset in Philadelphia, San Diego. That's right. A third place team did beat a second place team here. Phillies in a tie with Atlanta at 20-20. Atlanta owns a tiebreaker. And Pittsburgh was 2 over as a road team. They were 4 over. They were a third place team, but they were a road favorite versus Colorado. So everything sort of went to chalk as far as the excellence of the teams that have won in this round. Like I said, the 2 third-place teams, the rest have been second-place teams. And then we'll have the seeding for the third round of the postseason tournament by the end of this one. That leaves us with our final matchup, Arizona-Cincinnati. Arizona, game under 500. Reds +4. That's a 2.5 game difference, meaning that Arizona has to win 4 of the 5 games. No tiebreaker needed. 4-1 would give them a half-game lead, but they'd have the tiebreaker, so they wouldn't need to play a tie-breaking game. 4-1's all they would need. Meaning that all I have to do is, the minute Arizona loses a game, I could start broadcasting, like right now, because here is Game 1. Game 1, Arizona-Cincinnati. Jeff Zahn for the Diamondbacks, Gary Nolan for the Reds. Well pitched and played game, particularly defensively it was. The long ball kind of determined the game. Bottom of the second, a Tony Perez 2-run homer. In the third, Bobby Tolan single, steals a base, moves a third of the ground ball, scores on a Johnny Bench single, 3-0. Diamondbacks come back a little in the fourth. A Brock Davis single and a Mike Vail 2-run homer off the Gary Nolan card. That would be all of the scoring. There were late rallies in this. The Diamondbacks had a man on in the 6th, the 7th, 2 men on in the 8th. It was good defense, though. A lot of X's were rolled to end innings. This was a first X and with the infield up, and a ground ball to second to Joe Morgan X to end that. And this was a ground ball to Concepcion in the 9th to end that. So good defense helped the Reds. People forget how good defensively the Big Red Machine was. They used good defense to hold on and win this game. Jeff Zahn in a loss, 8 hits, 3 runs, a walk and 5 Ks, and a complete game loss. Gary Nolan went 8 2/3. 8 hits, 2 runs, 4 walks, 2 Ks. With 2 on, 2 outs, and the dangerous righty Hal Breeden up, they decided to go to Clay Carroll to get the final out. A good righty-on-righty matchup for Carroll. And he struck Hal Breeden out to end the game. So what does that mean in the overall standings? Let's take a peek. In the National League, the Reds are now 5 over 500. And Arizona finds themselves 2 under 500, 3.5 back. The Rockies have been eliminated, as has Portland. And, yeah, the Diamondbacks had a 4-game winning streak. That would give them a record of 21-19. They and Pittsburgh would host Arizona and Philadelphia if that were to happen. But the chalk bet is that the Reds win this series. The Pirates are 4 over 500. The Reds are currently 5, trying to get to 6. And then they would also host Atlanta and Philadelphia. There's no scenario presently where one of either Atlanta or Philadelphia doesn't play in the third round of the tournament, because there's no way both Cincinnati and Arizona can advance. The other thing that's rather interesting here is that the Cubs have, they are currently in first at 24-17. And there is a, if the Reds win today and are 21-15, they would have to win 2 straight in the next round, the third round of the tournament, against either the Braves or Phillies, to nip the Cubs by half a game for the division title. But right now, the Cubs are holding steady. And if they hold steady, I mean, if these teams, like if Arizona wins games or the Braves and Phillies, if the Reds start to stumble just a little bit, I don't even think the Pirates can catch the Cubs. The Cubs would be a number 2 seed and have a bye in the playoffs. Even after losing 3 out of 5 to Las Vegas, who's at 5 over. The big loser in this round is the Mets. They were sitting at a number 2 seed. They lost 3 out of 4 to the Giants, who at 22-12 have clinched the number 1 seed in the National League. So it's the Mets, unfortunately. It looks like they're going to sit at, they'll be idle while the Braves and Phillies play. So they're going to win this division, but only 5 over 500. They have a tiebreaker over Vegas, too. So it looks like 3 and 4 are locked up in the National League. 2, 5, and 6, 7 and 8 are to be determined. All right, folks. Game 2 in Cincinnati. For the Diamondbacks, they will send Steve Stone out there. He was a giant in 72, 6 and 8, 298 ERA, and 124 innings. He would later play for the White Sox, win 25 games for the Orioles in 1980, pitch for the Cubs, do broadcasting, I believe, for the Cubs, right? And the Cincinnati Reds will send Don Gullett, Dandy Don Gullett in 74, 17-11, 304 ERA, and 243 innings. Steve Stone, Don Gullett from Riverfront Stadium in Cincinnati. Reds got to win this game so they can continue to attempt to chase down the Cubs for first place in the National League. We would never have thought this 4 months ago and back in March, that the Cubs would throw a monkey wrench into the Reds and the Pirates' World Series plans. All right, leading off, it's Stevie Ray Braun. 46 off Gullett's a K. Merv Retman, 57 is a K. And Hal Breeden, 2-5, rolls short. Bottom of the first, it's Joe Morgan, 57 is a K. Bobby Tolan of the Bells, 111's hit by the pitch. Now, double-A stealer, he'll take off on Bill Plummer. Steele is a 10, he's in there. Runner at second for Pete Rose. 1-2. Ooh. Ground ball to first, A+ injury. Pete hurt himself. I think he got his hammy tightened up going down the first base line. He's limping off. Runner moves to third. Rose will not finish the game. He'll have to come out. And not many teams have 300 hitting George Foster on the bench just to plug in left field. So Foster will go in for Pete Rose at the top of the next inning. 2 outs, runner at third. Johnny Bench. 1-6 is a walk. 2 on, 2 outs for Tony Perez. 46 is a walk. The bases are loaded for Don Mincher. 2-9 rolls to first. Top of the second inning, it's Dave May, 65, double. Bill Plummer, 1-9, single 1-6. Gets it on a 1. Runners on the corners for Brock Davis. 2/8 a K. Mike Vail, they're going to play backhoe for double play here. 66 off a gullet is double 1-3. That's a single dot. And the Diamondbacks get on the board. The Cub fans are watching on WGN Game of the Week and cheering on the Diamondbacks, looking for a road upset. Runners on the corners, 1 out. Reds will bring it up from Dale Maxwell. 37's a K. And Fred Chicken Stanley, 67. Single 1-13. Gets it on a 10. 2-zip. Stevie Ray Braun, 38 is a walk. Bases are loaded with 2 outs from Merv Retman. 58 is a strikeout. But the Diamondbacks get the gullet in the second for 2 runs. Dave Concepcion, 6-12, first. Cesar Geronimo, 48's a walk. Dennis Menke, 2-4, center. And back up top, Joe Morgan. 2-10 is a roller to second base. We go to the third. Hal Breeden, 4-10. Third X. Menke's a 2E15. Makes the play. Dave May, 47's a K. Bill Plummer, 67. Single 1-13. Cannot get that one. Bottom of the third, it's Bobby Tolan of the Bells, 1-7. Is a K. Not Pete Rose. It's George Foster in the 3 spot now. Foster, 68, flies to center. Johnny Bench, 3-5. Let's take a look at Johnny Bench's card. MVP card of 1972. Barely beating out Billy Williams. He had 40 home runs, 270 average, 100 walks. My goodness, 100 walks. -4 arm catcher. Could play first, right field, third base, too, just to get his bat in the lineup. -4 arm catcher as to boot. 3-5 is gone, and it is a 2-1 game. Tony Perez, 65, second. Top of the fourth. In a 2-1 affair, it's Mike. Brock Davis leads off. 1-7 is a base hit. C. Steeler. Mike Vail, 39 is a K. Dale Maxwell, 57 is a K, and with 2 outs. Chicken Stanley, 2-8 is a walk. 2 on, 2 out. Stevie Ray Braun, 1-8 is a grounder to short. Bottom of the fourth, it's Don Mincher, free agent acquisition to be the DH. 5-10's a walk. Concepcion, 1-6, single 1-6. He gets the 6. We have 2 on. Geronimo, 1-8 for Cesar is a walk, and Stone's in trouble for the second time in this game. He got out of a bases loaded jam in the first. Difference now, there's nobody out. And you got on-base machines, Dennis Menke and Joe Morgan back-to-back. Well, they'll play it back with nobody out. You can't afford to bring it up for 2 batters here. They'll play it back here for Dennis Menke. 68 off of Stone is a sac fly to center field. And we have a tie game of 2-2. First and second, 1 out for Joe Morgan. 3-6, that's another walk. Reload them with 1 out and the bases loaded. Bobby Tolan, they got to take a look at the card and see how many ground ball Bs are on it to see if bringing the infield up is even worth it. And frankly, it's not, unless you were convinced he's going to roll a 2-9. Yeah, so they're going to play back looking for a double play. 2-5, and they play back, and Bobby Tolan hits into a 3-6-3. Hold on. Let's take a look at the Bobby Tolan card for 1 second. There's one special caveat for home teams. That is, if your guy is an A bunter, you have to bring the infield up. The other thing is, with the infield up and the bases loaded, only my home teams can convert the double play. It's a home field advantage also built into the game. The away teams get the force out at the plate, and the runner beats the throw to first. So that's exactly what happens here. It's 2-5, ground ball A. They play like it's the infield up, so it's a 3-2, force out at the plate. They don't convert the double play. So the bases are still loaded with 2 outs. Geronimo at third, Morgan at second, Tolan at first, and the batter is George Foster. 2-7 is a strikeout, and the Reds do not take advantage of that home field advantage play. And the thing, folks, if you don't like that rule, you got to remember something. Everybody gets to be the home team, you know, if you're playing in a solitary league, so it's not as if one team has a decided advantage. So that's why I try and have come up with a bunch of small little home field advantage rules. Catcher's arm, base running, that rule right there, infield up, just to try and increase the home team's winning percentage a little bit. Top of the 5th, 2-2 game. It's Merv Retman. 1-7 for Merv is a grounder to short. Hal Breeden, 37's a walk. Dave May, 5'10", catcher's X. Your catchers, this is bench, a 1-9. What? It's a ground ball B. So bench gets the grounder and guns it down to second base for the fielder's choice. But that makes Dave May a better base runner, not base stealer. He's a 16 at first for Bill Plummer. Former Cincinnati Red Bill Plummer. How about that? 37 is a K. Plummer trying to get some revenge on his Reds, I guess. 2-2 game. Diamondbacks are playing like they don't want to be eliminated. Bottom of the 5th. Let's pause a moment for station identification.
This is the Shrimp Trawler video channel.
Este es el canal de videos de camaroneros.
Okay, bottom of the 5th. Leading off, Foster made the last out. It'll be Johnny Bench, homered earlier. 1-5, ball 4. Johnny's yet to get out today. 2 walks and a dinger. Tony Perez, 37, another walk. That was the Steve Stone bugaboo. Control early in his career. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 freaking walks in this game. Really, only that one run as a result of it. Don Mincher, 54. Homer, 1-17. So much for that. That is gone. A Don Mincher 3-run homer, and now those walks are painful, as 3 of the 9 walks have scored in this game. Yeah, 9 walks already. My goodness. It is now 5-2. Concepcion, 68, center. Geronimo, 110, flies to right. And Mankey, 210, flies to center. Is this enough for Gullett, 5-2? Should be, you'd think. In the 6th we go. It's Brock Davis, 66. Double 108 is a double. One thing about this Arizona team, they're never going to give up, at least their offense won't. They can hit. This team's built around high batting averages, not necessarily homers or stolen bases, base running, just high batting average. A lot of 300 guys and so forth. Here's one of those 300 hitters, Mike Vail. 39 is a K. Maxville. 1-8 is a base hit to right field. Not going to take on the Tolan arm. On the corners, playing back for C-Bunning Chicken Stanley. 2-11 pops to short. And with 2 on and 2 outs, back up top to the Arizona All-Star, Stevie Ray Braun. Let's take a look at Stevie Ray. Yeah, he hit 302. 540 plate appearances and 75 for the Twins with 11 home runs, 66 walks. Defense, well, versatility's his bag. Jack of all trades, master of none. First, second, third, and left field. Eventually, if he stayed in the American League, he probably could have been a DH, but he was in the National League with the Cardinals and some other teams, and so he was just a pinch hitter. Big moment here, with 2 on and 2 outs. Here's the pitch to Stevie Ray Braun. 2-6 is a base hit to left field, and that will score Brock Davis. 5-3. First and second, Merv Retman. 1-7 is a grounder to short. That will end the inning. 5-3 though. Diamondbacks clawing back a little bit. Steve Stone, what do you do with this guy? Well, the good news is one of the lefties that were supposed to come up, Pete Rose, isn't. Morgan and Tolan will be a pain in the neck, but then you get the 3 righties, Foster, Bench, and Perez. I think he pitches through those guys. Again, Stone is one of the best pitchers on this team. Control notwithstanding. Here is Joe Morgan. 56, double 1-6, base hit. Double A stealer, but you got to think, why not just stand in the box and take a walk to second, you know? So Morgan's not going to attempt a stolen base here. Bobby Tolan will swing away. 1-6, Tolan skies to center. Now you got the righties. If you're going to steal, you want to do it now because you don't want to steal with Johnny Bench up. Morgan's taking off. It's going to be close. He's a double A stealer. 17, 16, 15, -1 arm, 14. He's in on a 14. All right, he's barely safe. That'll be George Foster, the runner at second. 64 is a K, and with 2 outs, it's Johnny Bench. 110 is a fly to left field. 5-3 affair. Arizona played tough in game 1, is still playing tough today. Gullett, starter 7. That's the breaking inning. Any defense for the Cincinnati Reds? Nope, it's all in there already. Pete Rose was a 1E3 in left. George Foster, 2E4 as a young outfielder. Top of the 7th, it's Hal Breeden. 5-11, second X. This is Morgan, a 1E13 at second base, makes the play. Dave May, 2-6 is triple on a 4, base hit. And your tie run is former Cincinnati Red Bill Plummer. 3-6. Let's take a look at Bill Plummer's card. He had some pretty weak cards in the 1970s, backing up Johnny Bench, which was a real pain with the notion that you just couldn't catch Johnny Bench 162 games. You had to put Plummer in there some of the time. But except for 1974, this card we're looking at. This is his best card offensively. I mean, he's a decent hitter against lefties. Extra base hits, nice batting average. -1 arm, could play third base. This is easily the best Bill Plummer card of the decade. 3-6 is a double to left field. Dave May, 16, with 1 out, will try and score on the -1 arm. And he does on a 10. And the Diamondbacks have pulled within a run. Gullett, one more batter, he's at the point of weakness. But he'll face the lefty Brock Davis. 1-3, skies to center, and with 2 outs, he'll face Mike Vail, who's better versus righties. 2-5, skies to center field. All right, stretch time here in Cincinnati. It's a 5-4 nail biter. Would not have expected it. You're talking about the big red machine of the 1970s. You just expect them to blow teams out like it's some sort of Hall of Fame special edition Strat-O-Matic set, but it really isn't. I mean, they're obviously amazing, but the Diamondbacks they're showing up. They didn't exist, of course, in the 70s. We put together a team of high batting averages for them. Braun 300, Breeden. Let me just read these real quick before we do the stretch time music thing. Braun 302, Redmond 262, Breeden 275, Dave May 303, Brock Davis 318, Mike Vail 302, and on the bench, John Knox 307. And there you go. Stretch time here in Cincinnati. We are enjoying the Ohio native Isley Brothers, Cincinnati. Good connection there. Isley Brothers, 1972 LP, Brother, Brother, Brother. Doing some covers and some original stuff. Great stuff. The Isley Brothers back to the game. Bottom of the 7th. Steve Stone is still out there. I think he'll face Perez. And if he reaches, maybe we'll go into the bullpen and see what's out there. Tony Perez. 2-6. Tony Perez, triple 1-3 is a base hit. Now you got a lefty Mincher, Concepcion, and lefty Geronimo. I think it's time to call a day for Stone, because he's just... The walks just have been his thorn in his side, and they're so close, they're just down by a run. This is where it gets kind of hairy right here. Well, you know, you may as well go out with your best. So they're going to go right to their closer, Daryl Knowles, in the 7th inning here. Daryl Knowles, 1972, was an Oakland A with a 1.36 ERA in 66 innings. See? That's what you got to do, folks. If you don't want the Oakland dynasty to happen, you have to send their players or get their players drafted to other teams. So Oakland is dominating, as you can imagine, the American League. But Paul Lindblad, Daryl Knowles, you know, Bill North, a lot of the other Oakland A players, Mike Epstein, are playing elsewhere. But Daryl Knowles will come in the 7th inning with a runner at first. And there'll be a pinch hitter for Don Mincher. Strictly a platoon. Your choice of, you know, the injury to Foster kind of stung because he would have been a nice pinch hitter. You got Gilbreth or Barton. We'll go Barton. Bob Barton is Johnny Bench's backup. We'll go to him, get him some playing time. Make up for the Bill Plummer double. This is Johnny Bench backup catcher day. So here's Bob Barton with a runner at first. 110, and Barton flies to left. Concepcion. 34 is a 6-4-3 double play. Wow. 5-4 affair in the 8th inning. Clay Carroll is warming, as is Bourbon. This is not what the Reds wanted. They wanted us to roll Diamondbacks and hope they would just go away. But they have not gone away. They're still playing. Top of the 8th inning, Gullett, a lefty, will keep the lefties John Knox and Ed Herman on the bench. Plus, Garcia is better against a righty. So he'll battle at least through the first 3 hitters here. Actually, he's a starter 7. He'll battle through his point of weakness here if it happens in the 8th. Here's the pitch to Dale Maxwell. 68 off of Gullett is a walk. You just don't want to do stuff like that to a 221 hitter. And now you got a 200 hitter, Fred Stanley. 3-6. Let's take a look at Fred Stanley's card. Only hit 200, but he's got 12 walks and 85 at-bats. That's a base hit to left field. Cannot do that. Can't do that if you're trying to win the National League North. You can't give up hits to the 221 and 200 hitters so they can turn it up to the 300 hitters at the top of this lineup. Gullett's got Braun, and then I think we'll go to Clay Carroll. So, yeah, you started this mess, and you're on the hook for a loss presently if they come back in this inning. You'll pitch to Stevie Ray Braun. 3-11 flies to right. 1 out. And now you got Retman. That'll do it. So 7 1/3 for Gullett. They're going straight to Clay Carroll. He's a relief 3. He only pitched a third of an inning yesterday. Looking for a 5-out save. Not going to be easy, by the way. He'll face Merv Retman with 2 on and 1 out. Here's the pitch to Merv Retman. 43, first X. This is Tony Perez, a 3-13 at first base. And Tony can't get a glove on the ball. That's a single dot dive. We've got a tie game. They had one option to get a 2 at first base. That's Menke. He's a 2E22. Then you get an error in that case. And then you move the 3, Rod Gilbreth, to third base is all you're doing, playing a shell game there. And that is a base hit, and your Arizona Diamondbacks have tied this thing up with runners on the corners and 1 out. They got to bring the infield up for Hal Breeden. 210, base hit, because you brought the infield up for Hal Breeden, and the Reds are imploding here in Riverfront. Infield up for Dave May. 55, short X, Concepcion, can you field? He's a 2, yeah, he gets a ground ball B. Cuts the runner down at the plate. You got first and second with 2 outs now. Plummer will stay in the game. 2-6, grounds the third. Well, Diamondbacks take a 6-5 lead. Daryl Knowles is a relief 2. He will continue, and now you got Geronimo up, and normally Foster comes in for him, but he's already in the game, and Rose is out. So Geronimo will have to swing away here in a 6-5 game. 37, it's a base hit for Cesar. He's a 16 runner and a C stealer. Now you got Menke, a B bunter. It's so hard to bunt right in front of Joe Morgan, who will most likely draw a walk and waste the bunt. So Menke will swing away with Geronimo at first. Has to stay out of the double play in which he hits into a lot of them. Or we could go Rod Gilbreth as a pinch hitter. We're going to pinch hit Rod Gilbreth here because the one thing we know is that Daryl Knowles isn't going anywhere. Let's take a look at Gilbreth's card. He was actually an extra player on the Braves of 73. 284. Hits lefties very well. Becomes the default third base platoon until the Reds figure out who's going to play third base. As we said, Pete Rose is in left field one more year. Eventually he'll move to third base for the World Series in 75, but we're kind of in between World Series appearances for the Reds. Plus, if you want to count 73 when they should have gone. So it'll be Rod Gilbreth with Geronimo at first. Nobody out. Here's the pitch to Rod. 1-8 is a fly ball to center field. Menke probably walks, I guess, right? Yeah, he does. All the wrong moves for the Reds. Back up top to Joe Morgan. 2-8. And that is your dreaded 4-6-3 double play for Joe Morgan because they're not holding Geronimo on. Yep. Kind of been this kind of year for the Reds. That's why they're in this not winning the division mode presently. 6-5 in the ninth. The Cubs are rejoicing somewhere. The Cubs are about to clinch their division and number 2 seed the National League, I believe. Clay Carroll will continue in the ninth. It'll be Brock Davis. 2-7 flies to center field. You cannot beat a team that didn't exist. Cincinnati Reds. Arizona Diamondbacks did not exist. Can't beat them. Mike Vail, 512 is a walk. Dale Maxwell, 58 is a K. And Fred Stanley, 39, flies to right. Had you gotten Dale Maxwell and Fred Stanley out in the 8th inning, you might have won your division, but you didn't. Bottom of the ninth, 6-5. Daryl Knowles will be pushed to the brink. This will be his 3rd inning of relief, which means he will not be available tomorrow, if there is a tomorrow. Even because the Diamondbacks win this game, they keep playing. But they won't have their closer tomorrow, but that's what they need to do just to keep this thing going. It'll be Bobby Tolan leading off. Is there any defense to bring in? No. Defense is the same. Okay. Yeah. Bottom of the ninth. Here we go. It'll be Bobby Tolan leading off for the Cincinnati Reds. 5-11 off Knowles is a bouncer to short. This is Maxwell, a 2-19 shortstop. Always good to have one of those. Makes the play. Now you got Foster. Given an opportunity after the Pete Rose injury. He's flown out and struck out twice. Here's the pitch to George Foster. 3-5 is, let's take a look at the George Foster card of 1975. Yeah, this is a World Series champion. 75. We added the 2 cards of 1975 we gave Cincinnati were Joe Morgan and this guy, George Foster. Foster was available for previously, but they buried him in the minor league system, protecting him with guys like Bobby Tolan in the outfield and so forth. Ken Griffey is still buried in that AAA system with no, being protected so he's not poached. 3-5 for Foster is triple 1-2 double, and that's a 2-base hit. And now you got Johnny Bench. We saw his card earlier. He has a solo homer to give him the early lead. A couple walks, scored on one of them. And he will bat with a runner at second and 1 out. You could go righty here with Dick Bainey. Righty, 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 righty. There's a mound visit. They're going to think about this. Daryl Knowles is their dude. He is their guy. But you got to remember, Bench and Perez destroy lefties. Whew. And you are trying to win this game. Dare you pull Daryl Knowles for Dick Bainey? Former Cincinnati Red. Wait a minute. If Dick Bainey's a former Cincinnati Red, we're going to do it. Oh, we are. Arizona will bring Dick Bainey into the game. 1973, he was a Cincinnati Red. 2-1 with a 2.90 ERA in 30 innings. A chance to beat his former club. We had a Bill Plummer double today, and Dick Bainey is going to come in. So it's only 2 innings for Daryl Knowles now, with the being pulled from the game. So I guess he is available tomorrow, if there is a tomorrow. Dick Bainey comes on in the 9th. The tying run at second and 1 out. And he's a righty specialist. And he will face Johnny Bench with a runner at second. Here's the pitch to Johnny. 64 is triple on a 13 off the Bainey card. The move backfires and it's a double. Oh my! Right into the power number on the Bainey card. We got a tie game. That backfired because on Daryl Knowles, that's a catcher's X. So both teams have seen late theatrics in this one, making the wrong moves. Now, interestingly, you got a base open and Bob Barton on deck. Nobody left on the Cincinnati bench. Then Concepcion. I think you walk Tony Perez here. He doesn't count in this game. It's already 6-6 with a runner at second. So they're going to potentially walk Perez. And that means that Bob Barton's going to have to swing away with runners at first and second now and 1 out in a 6-6 tie. Playing back, here's the pitch to Bob Barton. 2-10, and that is a 6-4-3 double play. Now that worked perfectly. And ladies and gentlemen, once again, we've got extra innings. Boy, we get a lot of extra inning games here on YouTube for you guys. We got a classic coming down here. Didn't think it was going to be this way, but it is. 6-6. Clay Carroll's a relief 3. We'll give him a 3rd inning, as they have Braun and some righties after that. Braun, Retman, Breeden, yeah. No changes to the defense. And here will be Stevie Ray Braun in the 10th. 57 off Clay Carroll, single 1 to 18, he gets it. 14 base runner, Retman. Does he swing away or bunt? Not a big fan of bunting on the road. He'll swing away. 2-7, single 1 to 7, lines out into 17. Hal Breeden. 39's a walk, 2 on, and now you're about to break Clay Carroll with a lefty, Dave May. I think you'd hook him now. I think they're going to get him out of there with 2 men on and 1 out. He's about to break anyway, and he's not that good against lefties. So here comes Pedro Borbon trying to bail the Reds out now. Boy, they have really been behind the 8 ball today, have the Cincinnati Reds. So also went 2 innings, just like Daryl Knowles, and had to be bailed out. So in the 10th, it'll be Borbon, first and second, 1 out. Borbon in 72, 8-3 with a 3.17 ERA and 122 innings. He will face the dangerous Dave May, cleanup hitter for Arizona. Here's the pitch. 63, pitcher X, Borbon, can you field your position? No, you can't. He's an E34. This is going to be disaster. No, he gets a ground ball C, which is, yeah, it's okay. Avoided the error, though, but you got runners at second and third with 2 outs, and it's Bill Plummer. And you could go a couple different ways here if you don't want Plummer to bat. So Plummer's pretty awful against rights, as you might imagine, with just 4, 5, and 6, and 9. If you go to Ed Herman, John Knox, they go to the lefty setup guy, Riddleberger, which might not be a bad gig either, with Brock Davis on deck. Or you got Pedro Garcia. They're going to pinch hit Pedro Garcia in this situation. Let's take a look at him. Garcia is normally the second baseman versus righties. He played a full season for the Brewers in 1973. 620 plate appearances, a 245 average. But he did have 32 doubles and 15 home runs. So some big pop. He's better against righties than lefties. You're certainly not going to bring in Denny Riddleberger as a lefty setup guy for the Reds, as he's not that great versus righties. So is a tough situation. You certainly don't want to intentionally walk Garcia to face Brock Davis, a tougher lefty. So it will be Pedro Garcia batting for Bill Plummer with second and third, a base open in the top of the 10th. Here's the pitch to Pedro Garcia. 39 for Pedro is a grounder to short. And if you're wondering, yep, Bill Plummer would have walked. We've seen several of these moves just blow up for both teams. It's 6-6, bottom of the 10th. Let's see. We need a catcher. That's Ed Herman. Question remains, do you want him to bat in the next inning? I doubt Riddleberger would pitch to him if it comes to that. So, yeah, we'll take... or just take Garcia out. No, we'll take Garcia out. Make him just a pinch hitter only. Because Maxwell and Stanley got on base and scored runs last time they batted, so they'll stick around. So that was just a pinch hit for the catcher. Now the catcher goes into that spot. Bottom of the 10th. Dick Bainey's a relief 3. He's got a righty Concepcion. Then it gets tricky with Geronimo, a lefty. Then Gilbreth, and then Joe Morgan. So here we go. Dave Concepcion leading off in the bottom of the 10th of a 6-6 affair. Dave went to the All-Star game this year. He's having a big year. Here's the pitch to Concepcion. 66 off of Bainey is double one of 14. He gets it on an 8. Big double for Concepcion. The second double off of the Bainey card. Bench had one. Now Concepcion, both of the All-Stars for the Reds. So the winning run. And the division is back in play now for the Reds suddenly. Runner at second, nobody out. You got B. Bunning, Geronimo with a righty Gilbreth, and then you got Morgan and Tolan after that. I think you drop it down, folks. I hate bunting second to third unless it's an A bunter with a B. Particularly with, but every other swing away situation hasn't worked. So we're gonna bunt him over to third with Geronimo. Here's the bunt. It is a 4. That's not a single. He's a B bunter. He needed to roll a 2 or a 3. That's a single for an A bunter, but it's effective. And the runner's at third with one out. The infield comes up for Rod Gilbreth. We saw the card earlier with Joe Morgan on deck. So Morgan will bat in this inning unless we get a Lomax. Here's the pitch to Rod Gilbreth. 5-11 with the infield off of Bainey is a walk. Oh boy. You almost want to walk Joe Morgan in this situation anyway. But then you got Bobby Tolan, another lefty on deck. Oh boy. First and second one out. Well, chances are you're probably going to end up walking Morgan anyway, whether it's intentional or not. You do have lefty-lefty, but you're running out of pitchers, but you're also running out of season. Let's take I got to take a look at Gary Peters here. He can't be any good. There's nobody on the Cincinnati bench, so if Gary Peters can get lefties out, all right, we'll do it. Here we go. We're gonna lift Bainey as he put 2 or 3 guys on in this inning, put 2 guys on in the previous. So Bainey goes 1 inning. In the bottom of the 10th, we're going Gary Peters, whose career is rapidly coming to an end. 1972 for the Boston Red Sox. Gary was 3-3 with a 434 in 85 innings. But I often remarked, Gary, if you go to the bullpen and just pitch to lefties, you're in better shape. You see the righties kill him. So we know he's only going to face Morgan and Tolan. And the game will be over by then, or extra innings. And then they'll go to Bruce Del Canton, the last pitcher, to finish the game, for however long this marathon may go. So Gary Peters will come on in the bottom of the 10th with first and third, and 1 out. Gary Peters, and face Joe Morgan, who's not an A-bunter, by the way. No squeezing here. The infield is up, runners on the corners. You have Concepcion at third after the sac bunt. You have Gilbreth at first. Joe Morgan with the infield up Probably will be an unintentional walk. Here's the pitch to Joe Morgan. 67 off Gary Peters. Well, there's a walk. And the bases are loaded for Bobby Tolan of the Bells. Let's take a look at Bobby. Oh, boy, folks. Yeah, he hits lefties better than righties, but, you know, what are you going to do if you're Arizona? You've flipped all the switches you can possibly throw. John Knox is on the bench. There's no relievers left except for Del Canton. All your players are playing in this possible elimination game. Bases are loaded, 1 out. And even if Tolan fails and avoids the double play, you got George Foster behind him. If Peters gets Tolan out, he won't face Foster. That'll be Bruce Del Canton. So here it is. Bases loaded, 1 out. The infield is up for A bunting Bobby Tolan. Don't like to squeeze with the bases loaded. First and third, I do. Now with the bases loaded. Infield up. Bobby Tolan trying to advance the Cincinnati Reds. Here's the pitch. 38. There it is. It's a clean single for Bobby Tolan. That scores the run. And the Reds win this game anyway, to the chagrin of Chicago Cubs fans. And frankly, to the chagrin of baseball fans who are really disappointed that this underachieving Reds team this year wins anyway versus the Arizona Cupcakes. My goodness. So Gary Peters didn't get anybody out. He walked Morgan. And that's how your ball game ends. Pedro Bourbon got the last 2 outs in the top of the inning to get the win. And Dick Bainey gets the loss. We'll take this right to the post game. My goodness. Arizona, hey, give them some credit. Ragtag team. I always say that about these expansion teams. Gary Peters gave up a hit and a walk. Dick Bainey in that inning gave up a run and a walk. In the previous inning, Dick Bainey gave up a double, a walk, and then got a double play. Hit and a walk. And of course, Darryl Knowles before that gave up a hit and a run. And then before that, he gave up just 1 more hit. 6 1/3 for Stone and a no decision. 5 hits for Stone. And 5 runs that were all earned. He walked 9. You know, you walk 9. I mean, it shouldn't have been this close, frankly. And struck out 4. Let's give Bainey the loss. Bourbon gets the W. He came in to face Dave May. Got him in the pinch hitter out. Clay Carroll in this inning gave up a hit and a walk. He came on in the 8th. Faced Merv Retman, gave up 2 singles. He also gave up a walk and a K in the 9th. And then Gullett did everything else in a no decision. 11 hits, 6 runs. Because those runs in the 8th were charged to him. So 4 of the 6 runs happened in the 6th, 7th, and 8th innings. Everything was earned. 4 walks, 10 strikeouts. A lot of base runners in this one, folks. And again, 6 and 7 runs is a lot as well, but a lot of blown opportunities for both teams. 1-0-0-10, 0-1-0-9 a third, 7-10, 6-14, 6-11, 12-4. Wow. Arizona out-hit the Reds 14-10. Remember I said this thing about batting average? They got a really good one. But the Reds put 22 men on base to the 20 of Arizona. Win by a run. 1-0-0-10, 0-1-0-9 a third, 7-10, 6-14, 7-10, 6-14, 6-11, 12-4, 12-4, 6-11. Game 2, 2 straight, and the Reds still have a chance in the next round of this tournament. Let's go. We're going to check that out in this post game. Arizona bows out, but not without pushing the Reds to the brink. Kind of exposing a little bit. Their pitching is just kind of nothing special about the Red pitching staff. I think Gary Nolan's the best pitcher they have. Billingham's pitched pretty effectively this year, actually. Fred Norman and Don Gullett have not. We'll take a closer look in these stats. All right, so the Reds should be 6 over 500 now, just a half game behind the Cubs. 282, 415 ERA for the Cincinnati Reds. Nolan's 5-3, Billingham's 4-3. Don Gullett's 2-6 with a no decision. His ERA is almost 5. Fred Norman's actually been okay, 5-2. Pedro Borbon is 4-0. Talk about pulling rabbits out of his hat. He's 4-0, but his ERA is 5.68. Yeah, okay. Bench, 12 homer, 37 RBI. It's him and Stargell, I think, at the 338 average, too. The 338 average might be the thing that puts him over the top in the MVP over Stargell. The Stargell's also hitting 3-something. Real close in MVP voting. To be determined. And the Arizona Diamondbacks should have a good team batting average. No, it's just 269. A little disappointing. Thought they'd be hitting 270, 280. 418 earned run average. Steve Stone was 1-3 prior to this. Daryl Knowles, who took the loss? Dick Bainey, that was the only loss he took all year. Bullpen was 4-4 with 9 saves. Yeah, they're right at 500, 17-20. 6-4, 3-4. Hal Breed had 9 homers, 35 RBI. Dave May had a nice year, 8-30. The All-Star was Stevie Ray Braun. Finishes 44 out of 148, a 297 average. 20 walks, though, high on-base percentage. 17-20 and 21-15. We'll confirm that by looking over here. 21-15, 17-20. It was 2-0, so we can march right to the postseason seeding. Here we go. I love doing this, folks. So, final piece of the puzzle is complete. Arizona needed to beat the Reds 4 out of 5 times. They fought, but the Reds got both wins. 21-15, 6 over 500. And Arizona is 17-20. That's 3 under. So when we look at the 4 teams that have advanced, the Reds are 6 over, Pirates are 4 over, and Atlanta and Philadelphia are at 0-0. Oh boy. And check this out a year ago, folks. This was the this was the grouping. I didn't erase this yet. This was the grouping last year. You had Houston as a 5, St. Louis a 6, Philadelphia a 7, and Pittsburgh as an 8. Pittsburgh had to beat the Astros 3 straight times, or their season would have been over. Pittsburgh beat the Astros 3 straight times, went on to win the World Series. My goodness. Philadelphia, in a best of 3, won 2 out of 3. Pittsburgh and Philadelphia, we got to scroll way down here, folks. The LCS, Pittsburgh and Philadelphia faced off against each other, and the Pirates won it 4-2. Got them a 34-25 record, and the Phillies were 31-24. So that's what happened a year ago, and my goodness, that's your news story. Extra, extra, read all about it. Pittsburgh and Philadelphia are in the same bracket. The spots will be different, though. Cincinnati goes into the number 5 seed at 6 over. Pittsburgh will be over here now. Pittsburgh is 2 full games better in the standings at 4 over 500 than they were a year ago. And frankly, this tiebreaker is critical. Atlanta has the tiebreaker over the Phillies. So Atlanta gets the Pirates. And the Phillies draw the Reds. That means a lot. The reason it means a lot is that the Phillies are exactly 3 games behind the Reds. So it's the Phillies has to beat the Reds 3 times in a row. Now, this is going to get even more interesting when we look at the big picture because the Reds can only finish in a tie if they win game 1 of that. I'll get to that in a second. The Braves and Pirates are 2 games back. Atlanta's 2 games back. So they would have to win 3-1. They'd have to win 2 out of 3 and then have a 1-game tiebreaker and win that one to go 3-1. They'd have to beat the Pirates 3 out of 4 times to get rid of the Pirates. That will be a tall order. But what's interesting is that we now look at the big picture. So overall seeding before the 3rd round of the tournament. We don't have to worry about the Padres tiebreaker anymore. They're done. Giants are 10 over. And here we go, half game. You got the Cubs at the 2 over. And you got the Reds at 5, Pirates at 6. And we can put 7 and 8 here. Here's the tiebreaker. The Braves are +1 over the Phillies. Beat the Phillies 4 games to 3. With identical records. But if the Braves just need to win at least 1 game over the Reds, if that happens, the Cubs will clinch this division. If the Reds win the first game against Atlanta, that series ends, and the Reds will be 22-15 and have a percentage points tiebreaker over the Cubs. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I'm going to bring it up because I think they beat the Cubs 4 games to 3 earlier this year. Wow, folks, live on the clock we're doing this for you. A special treat, showing you all the in-depth analysis here. Way earlier this year. Let me save myself some time here. Let me go to the schedule. When did the Cubs face the Reds? 2nd series, Cubs-Reds. That's a 2. So let's take the result. Series 2, scrolling all the way back to when this was played. Scrolling down, way earlier this year. Cincinnati and the Chicago Cubs. Here it is. Game 7. This was played on April the 19th. The winner of this game will win the National League North. The Cincinnati Reds with Jack Billingham throwing a complete game beat Fergie Jenkins 6-1. So Cincy has the tiebreaker. I got to go to the standings now. Chicago +1. Cincinnati Reds at the C for Chicago Cubs. They're +1 in the tiebreaker. So if the Reds beat the Braves in Game 1 of that series, they have to win Game 1. If they win Game 1, they'll be 22-15 in a tie, have a percentage points tie, and have the head-to-head tiebreaker, making the Cubs fall into the wild card. If the Braves win Game 1, there's no way the Reds can get that game back, because if the Reds win Game 2 or Game 3, the series ends and they'll stay 6 over 500. Or the Braves will rip off 3 straight wins and the Reds will be toast. The Braves at 3 over and the Phillies at 3 over, neither can win the division. But what a wild scenario in the National League. Probably the better league. More teams, in my opinion. More teams in the Elite 8 of the National League have a chance to go to the World Series. Let's just take a look at it again, a global picture. You had the Mets winning the World Series 3 years ago. You had the Braves #1 seed a year ago. The Phillies were a wild card, went to the league championship a year ago. You got the Cubs playing out of their minds. The Reds won the World Series 2 years ago. Pirates won it last year. You've got Vegas is just the lone representative from the expansion division. And then you got the Giants, who have been to a couple league championship series, losing to the Mets once, losing to the Cincinnati Reds once. Over in the American League, you got Oakland in a class beyond class. Then you got the White Sox, clearly the second best team in the American League. Complete ball club, offense, starting pitching, relief pitching. They've got everything. They got depth. They can go deep in the bullpen and deep on the bench. White Sox might be the most complete team. Actually, they probably got a more complete roster than the Oakland A's even. Beyond that, the Royals have been fading. We got the Expos are still alive with the Tigers. They're mediocre. Texas is a fun story. And looking in the East, the Orioles are fortunate to be where they're at. The only other team I can think of that could get red hot is the Red Sox. But they would have to do a complete role reversal to what they've been doing, which has been stumbling along. They get swept, they sweep, they get swept, they sweep. If they can just keep the winning going, the Red Sox and the White Sox are probably the only two teams besides Oakland who can go to the World Series. So there you go, folks. That's my final 16. And when we resume, we will get to the third round of the postseason tournament, race to the pennant, or for the pennant. Yeah, I like the 4 better. There we go. We started up to 7 games in the first round, up to 5 games in what we've just seen. The third round, these are all best of 3s, or up to 3 games to distinguish 8 and 5 and 7-6. Once we do that, we will have 4 division winners and 2 wild cards, and then the playoffs will commence. Playoffs? Yep, playoffs. All right, break up the Cincinnati Reds. They took care of business, wasn't pretty doing so. They beat Arizona 2 straight. Thanks for checking this out. We'll see you next time.